It's Tuesday, 13th of January, and here are some headlines making waves on the news dailies. We begin with the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper this morning, we have fuel import spending crashes 54% to $6.7 billion. On the sub story, we have bill falls from $14 billion in 2023 to $11 billion in 2024 and $6.7 billion in 2025 as experts push for refining boom. You will find all the stories on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Moving down, we have Trump threatens airstrikes on Iran as protest death hits 600. That's a huge number of death. It hits 600. And if you want to read more of that story, go to the page 18. Page 18 of the Punch newspaper this morning. 21,000 unregistered refugees in Nigeria, and UN agency registered on 21,000 unregistered refugees in Nigeria, and you'll find the story on page 9. On page 9, if you want more of that story, go to the page 9 of the Punch newspaper this morning. 2027 APC targets 9 million registered members, opposition kicks, and that story is also on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. PDP APC fight for control of Osun Local Government Secretariat. More of that story is on the page 25 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Federal government votes 19 billion naira for Vice President's aircraft engine and others. Federal government votes 19 billion naira for VP's aircraft engine and others. You'll find that story on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have an impeachment storm. Fubara says no notice as 2 lawmakers pull out. The stories on the page 26 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And that's all. Well, apart from some picture stories, we have some picture stories of the airstrikes that Trump threatens. The airstrikes on Iran as a protest death hit 600. We have the picture story of that news. And if you want to read more of it, go to the Punch newspaper. If any of the stories caught your interest, go to the Punch newspaper and read more of the stories. Moving on to the next, which is the Guardian newspaper this morning. On the Guardian newspaper this morning, on the burning surface, we have APC and stakeholders wade into reverse crisis impeachment plot. And that story is on the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. NBS allays fears over December inflation and spike as Obi warns of poverty. That story is on the page 6. If you want to read more of that story, go to the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Release or arraign officers detained over rumored coup attempt. Falana tells military, and that story is on the page 3. On the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning, presidency to spend 1.98 billion naira on fueling generators this year. That story is on the page 15. Page 15. Find it on the page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. KPMG chiefs, NRS meets to address errors in new tax laws. And we hope that this is going to give a positive outcome. And if that story catches your interest, go to the page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Obi faults Tinubu's UAE trip and says Nigeria can't be governed from abroad. And that story is on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Gunmen kidnap 8 and demand 100 million naira ransom in Edo State. That story is on the page 3. This kidnappings is becoming a serious worry in the economy, and we do hope and pray that things can only get better and our safety is assured in whatever we do. And if you want more of the story, go to page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And new Awujale to emerge next month as Kingmakers screen 86 nominees. The story is on the page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Bandits kill 2 and abduct several at Katsina wedding as government clarifies swap deal. That story is on the page 27 of the Guardian newspaper. Going up, we have Nestoil Nikund and Ernest Obiejesi and Nena Obiejesi's appeals suffer major setback as Supreme Court orders them back to the Court of Appeal. And the sub-story is saying that George cautions debtors must repay debts rather than file cases. That story is continued on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. So these are the stories from the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to the next, which is the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper, and on the burning surface, we have how manufacturing sector can grow in 2026, and this is updated by experts, and this story is on the page 20. We also have sub-stories: effective execution of new tax laws, incentives critical. It was said by MAN. Macroeconomic stability key to sustain growth, and Ona Fowokon cautions optimism and on economic outlook. CPPE, year of reaping benefits of reform. LCCI. All the stories are on the page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on, we have a Rivers crisis. Why Fubara is yet to receive impeachment notice. This story is on the page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. 95 jostle for Awujale's tool, and this story is on the page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Tinubu on Obasanjo, Sanwo-Olu and others mourn as Akran of Badagry dies at 89, and may his soul rest in peace. And that story is on the page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. 2027 Atiku, PDP, CUPP decry alleged crackdown of dissent. That story is on the page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on, we also have that same Nestoil Nekonde and Ernest Obiejesi and Nena Obiejesi's appeals suffer major setback. As the Supreme Court orders them back to the Court of Appeal, and George cautions debtors must repay debts rather than the cases. And that story is continued on page 2 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Moving on to the next, which is the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust newspaper today, it's on the burning surface, we have Katsina, fresh attacks amid bandits release plan. We have some of the stories on the burning surface already, but if you want more of it, it's continued on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. We also have a picture story of students resuming for the second term in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja and Lagos State yesterday. So schools have resumed that there should be security as the safety of these children should be assured. Moving on, REA budgets 8.75 billion naira for project in ND, and power ministers states. You'll find a story on the page 19 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. 2027 Tambuwal welcomes foreign intervention for credit loopholes. That story is on the page 30. Page 30 of the Daily Trust newspaper. FCTA to spend 73% of 2026 budget on Maitama. That story is on page 6 of Daily Trust newspaper. Soldiers deployment for internal security weakening police. Buratai. That story is also on the page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Going up, we have defection rumor. Police deploy security at Kano Government House. That story is on the page 11 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Generator fumes kill 6 members in Rivers State. This is a tragedy, and we offer our condolences to the families of these people. And the story, more of that story, if you want it, go to the page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And that's all for the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And finally, our last paper for today is the Daily Times. The Daily Times newspaper. On the Daily Times newspaper, on the bottom surface, we have alleged unlawful sack. 62 CBN ex-staff ask court to order Apex Bank for reinstatement promotion. The story is, you will find it on the Daily Times newspaper. You will find it on the Daily Times newspaper. Moving on, we have NARD to review strike suspension in 2 weeks. Go to the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. You will find more of that story. Federal government to demolish 124-year-old Qatar bridge and declare structure repair. More of that story, go to the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper and you will be able to read more of the story. Bandits demand 500 million naira from abducted Kaduna journalist family. We also have FCCPC rejects House panel claim and affirms DEON lending rules. And those are the stories on the Daily Times newspaper this morning. And that's all we have for you for the newspaper review this morning. And if any of the headline story caught your attention, you can get a copy of the newspaper and read.